Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about Republicans and Democrats and independents and outreach. We're going to do this because I get a lot of questions. Well, sometimes they're questions, sometimes they're comments, sometimes they're commands. But the general idea is why are you wasting so much time trying to reach out to conservatives? MAGA will never change. You can't be reasoned out of a position that you weren't reasoned into, so on and so forth. And I get the sentiment behind them. I really do. Believe me, I understand where you're coming from. But there's a couple of things to note about that. First and foremost, trying to reach people, that's kind of part of the reason the channel exists. The second part is that if you aren't trying to reach people, you are by default accepting the status quo. I don't think anybody watching this channel wants the status quo. And then there's the other thing, and it's the big thing. I understand the sentiment because everything seems so polarized. I get it on a gut emotional level. Where I don't get it is all data. Okay, so in 2020, 31% of people identified as members of the Democratic Party. They viewed themselves as Democrats. 25% viewed themselves as Republicans. 41% viewed themselves as independents. Okay. Judging by the outcome of elections, what does that mean? It means that independents probably lean conservative more often, right? Because if you just split it down the middle, the Democratic Party would win pretty much every national election, right? If you took that 41, divided it amongst the two parties, the Democratic Party would always come out on top. But that's not what happens, right? My guess is it's because there are more conservatives who consider themselves independents. They lean more conservatively at this point in time. This obviously changes throughout history, and I imagine it's about to change big time in the future, and it'll probably lean the other way. But right now, over the last few years, this is what you have. That's a lot of people that are leaning conservative, but don't consider themselves Republicans. Certainly don't consider themselves MAGA. Somebody's got to talk to them. It's like the way the Democratic Party views a lot of rural people. Said it over and over again. Rural people live their lives by left economic principles pretty much every day. But nobody comes and talks to them because they are viewed, and yeah, I will admit that the majority have very socially conservative positions. But philosophically, most times, even there, they kind of lean left. I think that they can be reached. And then when you get away from the way people identify and you look at the way they register, in 2021, 48 million Democrats, 36 million Republicans, 35 million independents, and then there's 2 or 3 million that are registered with a third party. Again, by the way people vote, by the vote totals, it kind of leans to the idea that there are a bunch of independents, people who do not want to consider themselves Republican, who lean conservative, who are up for grabs. So I do spend a lot of time trying to reach those people. I think that's a big part of the battle. And then there's the big thing that everybody needs to remember. I am not a Democrat. Yeah, for me, most of my beliefs align more with the Democratic Party than the Republican Party, and certainly more than with the MAGA fash version of it that exists today. But I'm not a Democrat. I think that's important to remember as well. If you want societal change, you have to reach people. You have to shift thought. And there's a whole lot of people that are up for grabs that aren't necessarily being led around by party officials. Reaching out to them is important. To change society, you don't have to change the law. You have to change the way people think. And that's a big part of why I do this. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.